She's an okay. I want, yeah, let's have a warm welcome to Miss Sireen Hanoun, the head of mathematics MYPDP at Dar al Marifa School. She's an experienced IB educator, workshop leader, curriculum developer, and school visit team member. She's also she got master degrees in international education. She leads curriculum development and assessment design initiatives that emphasize inquiry-based learning, data informed decision maker, and also she's effective professional growth, reflecting her passion for empowering learners and educator as well. So she is a really good educator for everybody. So we let's have some of her experience to be given to our work. Welcome, Ms. Serene. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is a very nice introduction. I really appreciate it, Ms. Khulud. Good morning, everyone. Today, we are going to look at the foundation of quality assessment. And today we are looking at what makes an assessment sound. And by sound, I mean the assessment actually measures the learning it claims to measure. Not only that, but that the results are fair and meaningful. Okay. Okay, so what makes an assessment feel fair in your course and why might it fail? These are the questions that we are going to try to answer some of in today's webinar. Many assessments fail not because the teachers lack skill. It is just because assessment design is something complex. It's not an easy job, and or it hasn't been thought of properly or has been rushed. And this is why I say creating a test is one of the most challenging tasks confronting a teacher. And I don't know if you would agree with me. Unfortunately, many of us have had little, if any, preparation in writing tests. And be honest with me, how many of us have been rushing into doing or preparing an assessment, rushing to ChatGPT, asking it for questions to help us come up with a high quality assessment, or sitting and trying to start preparing for an assessment, but didn't know from where to start. These are challenges that teachers face. So this is why if these ideas are in your mind, then good, we are ready to and we are qualified to start digging deeper into assessment. The highlights of today's webinar will be on 3 pillars. I'm going to talk about validity of assessment, reliability, and I'll be maybe quickly talking about authentic assessment. I want you, by the end of today's webinar, to rethink your assessment design, and your assessment practices. If I can make that happen, then that would be great. So these are the 3 pillars that I see are the good start for you when you start thinking about assessment. If one of these pillars is weak, then your assessment will not be strong, it will be weak as well. So I'll start with the first one, which is validity. Thought of taking you into a journey through this concept is not a new concept. It was thought about very long time ago. Like Messick in 1989, in his book Validity in Education Measurement, defined validity as an integrated evaluation judgment of the degree to which evidence and theory support the interpretation of test scores for proposed uses of tests. On the other hand, Harlan said that a valid assessment provides information that accurately reflects the learning objective being assessed. And I advise you to read Assessment of Learning for Harlan. Harlan has multiple publications on assessment. And also, assessment validity is the extent to which the inferences made from an assessment results are appropriate, meaningful, and useful. So if you see that there are multiple things related to validity definition, it's not one definition. So in simple words, what can I say? I can say that validity is about the degree to which an assessment measures what it intended to measure in the first place. So it needs to measure what it aims to measure, and also it reflects learning objectives clearly, so that the results are valid as well. And in simple terms, an assessment is valid if it truly captures the learning target and not something else. Think of a time to make it clearer for you. Think of a time a student come to you saying after the assessment, "Miss, but you did not teach us this." Here you should know, if this have ever happened to you, this is validity knocking the door. So this definition takes me to also not thinking about it in an isolation. There are types of validity. It's not just one main thing. So the first type is construct validity, when it refers to whether a test or a tool accurately measures the concept or skill it is intended to measure. And to make it simpler for you, I added this example where a math reasoning test was supposed to measure logical problem solving in mathematics, but students spent a lot of time doing some extra calculations and they didn't have access to the calculator, in which they did not have the time or the chance to show understanding of logical problem solving because they were bombarded with computation. This means that our test in this case may not have good construct validity. If I say I am assessing reasoning, but the task, for example, rewards memorization, not reasoning, then validity is low. The second type of validity is content validity. And content validity, as you see here by definition, it represents the subject matter or curriculum it is supposed to cover. Content validity is actually about coverage. Simple words. Take it this way. It's about the coverage of the material or the objective that you are giving your students. So does the assessment reflect all major learning outcomes appropriately? And also an example on this, let me say a history teacher taught the students a lot of historical events in the subject. And in the assessment, they just focused on World War II. This is also a problem because a teacher should design, the assessment should be able to reflect all the learning objectives, all the major topic taught. And I know here you might tell me, but we cannot test everything. We cannot assess everything in our course. Yes, and this is why there are future teaching is about dividing our curriculum into big ideas or conceptual ideas or big concepts that you can categorize the ideas that you want to measure and then choose from them the ones that you that will make a balanced approach to what you want to teach. Now here also I sometimes recall students saying after the assessment, but the teacher did not ask us. Now, we did the assessment, miss, but you did not ask us about this. You did not ask us about that. I've studied it for nothing. This is also the type of feedback that you will know that your assessment needs improvement in its content validity. The third type that I'm going to talk about today is criterion validity. It checks whether the result from our assessment agree with a trusted or another standardized external assessment. Like if a student who scored highly on a teacher-made mathematics test also perform well in an external one, then this means that that assessment is strong, has strong criterion validity. When you teach for standardized assessment like the E assessment, the DP assessment, the ISA, the PISA, the GL, all of these, if your results matches these and you are preparing your students for such assessment, and the results align, this means that your assessment have strong criterion validity. And there are, of course, threats to assessments being valid, like when the content does not match the stated learning outcomes, or the task measures unintended skills. Like if I am measuring, instead of measuring calculation in mathematics, I am measuring reading level or design. And I'll give you more examples and scenarios in the upcoming slides. A threat to validity when the key knowledge or skills are missing from the assessment, or the instructions are unclear, causing students to misunderstand what to do. This is also a very important thing that we need to think about, that the instructions of the assessment are clear so that the results are fair, what the students produce are actually what you want them to produce. So the main important question is, what is my role? Your role actually to improve your assessment validity, it needs to be a cycle, and it needs to keep on improving. Your role comes from design, to teach, to review after marking. Design means start with clear learning outcomes and design backward. Use a table of specification. I do that until now. I have long experience in teaching mathematics. I start preparing my assessment by creating a table, having all the learning objectives measured with different level of difficulty. It is also it's really important to collaborate with colleagues to review that alignment, because when you teach the same subject or the same grade level, every person's input matter. Also teach for validity. So ensure that students are told the skills and content being assessed. Provide examples, provide exemplars, provide model how tasks connect to learning goals. Show them how will the assessment be looking like. And here it just came to my mind, do multiple formative assessments to make the students understand how are they going to be assessed and how will they show their understanding. Reviewing for validity. So after grading, analyze your results. If you have high achieving students fail in one question validity, and also question validity when success depends on reading or on language, not on the subject content. If all of these are set, of course, there are many more, but I thought of highlighting these main ideas. If validity is set, we now think of something else, which is consistency. That is where reliability comes in. Reliability is something else. Now, also in literature, it has been defined with multiple understandings of it and what it means exactly. And for me, to make it simple, I say reliability is consistency of our assessment. Now, it's like a friend who always shows up, not that friend who cancels on us. It's the friend who is always there, and this is reliability. In simple words, I can say assessment reliability. The assessment is reliable if the results are consistent, in the terms of that the results would be the same tomorrow, or the same also if another marker marks my assessment. And this, in order to understand it more in depth, I'll show you the types of reliability. There is the test-retest reliability, and this means the assessment gives consistent results when the same students take it again. So under similar condition, like a diagnostic math quiz administered at the start of 2 consecutive weeks, produce nearly similar results for about the level of the student. The tests show high retest reliability because the performance remained stable over time. There is another type of reliability when it is about, so this first type of reliability checks stability over time. And I know that students improve, but we are talking about diagnostic specific ideas. Inter-rater reliability is when different teachers or examiners give similar scores. And I'm laughing here because have you ever noticed that your marking and another teacher's marking for the same paper are different? If the two teachers grade the same set of essays using the same rubrics and assign very similar marks, then the assessment demonstrates strong inter-rater reliability. If not, please question the reliability of assessment. This is very important, and we'll later speak about how can I minimize this to happen. And I think you can see the keywords that I added when I say the same rubric. Intra-rater reliability. For example, if I started marking today, if I do this tomorrow and I looked at the first paper that I marked, am I going to be nicer, or maybe when I am tired, I'll be tough on my students? So the meaning of intra-rater reliability is that the same teacher gives consistent scores when marking the same work at different times. A teacher grades lab report today and rechecks them next week without seeing the original score. Results are almost identical. This is what we want to have. We don't want you to mark the same essay, for example, twice and realize that you were nicer the second time. I don't know if you will agree with me. Sometimes the very first paper is we deal with it in we are tough with it. We feel that we need to be very too vigilant, not just in a logical way. And this, in order to, once we understand what this means, we need to avoid these threats on reliability, like subjective scoring without clear rubrics. Tasks with no rubrics are not going to be reliable, especially if we are talking about essays, poems, projects. Without a rubric, you will always lose reliability. Ambiguous questions with multiple readings, like vague wording, leads to multiple interpretation, or inconsistent testing condition. Now, this is an important point here. The time, the environment. Now, the threats on reliability also come from the environment that we put our students under. Like, please don't give some students extra time over other students. Please don't make the exam hall noisy, and don't allow invigilators to speak in loud voice. Don't give extra instructions to some student. Don't answer the students' questions that will affect the reliability of your assessment. You need to standardize all the condition and the environment and you need to manage everything to be standardized in order not to affect your assessment reliability. Fatigue or bias in marking, teachers marking late at night or influenced by prior expectations, assuming a student always performs poorly, marking harshly. So I'm not sure if you have ever started marking your paper, you looked at the name and you found out that this is your the brightest favorite student of the class, and you put this in your mind and assume that they will get good scores and all their answers made sense, and and you were not reliable also, you made your assessment not reliable because of that effect. Or let me put it the other way. If you know that a student is usually showing poor results, do you start having this assumption in your mind when you start marking and grading and giving out your results? These are all threats to reliability. So reliability weakens when also wording is unclear, marking is subjective, or conditions vary between students. We need to be fair. We need to be sound. We need to show that everything to provide standardized conditions. And now, again, we need our role to be improved every time. And what is our role to ensure reliable assessment? I keep putting this picture when we talk about our role in which multiple educators are sharing ideas. Please, you will always think that if I am doing this myself, I will not produce the same high quality results if we are working as a team. Teamwork will never fail you. It will provide you with extra information, even from the less experienced teacher in the group, because it will enrich the way we think. We will get different perspectives of different assessment practices, and our assessment practices will for sure produce effective results. So our role comes from the design for reliability. If you want to design a reliable assessment, it's very important to use rubrics and it is very important that these rubrics are clear. And it's good also, if you don't have rubrics, you need to have mark schemes. You need, when you implement for reliability, you need to standardize condition, as I said before, timing, instructions, material, and avoid distractions or inconsistency during assessment. The third role comes when marking for reliability. Conduct moderation sessions, conduct standardization sessions within departments. Mark one question across all students before moving. Actually, this is a very good practice. Don't mark the whole paper at once. Mark one question for all the students. You'll be more consistent with your grading because you will have the ideas all in your mind, and you in the mark scheme, in the way you, and if you face something questionable, how to grade it or not, you will immediately be deciding, and this will be fair and consistent for all papers. Use annotated exemplars to guide consistency. Now, moderation here is also the key. I am not sure if the people here know. I think this is a popular concept in education, doing moderation, in which after we mark our papers, we swap without showing each other's the mark or the grade or the level that we've put. And then if we agree, then this means there is consistency, there is reliability. If not, then we need to think again about our rubrics and sit and agree on the final judgment. Now, departments that mark together build reliability assessments, believe it or not. When you work again as a team, you can build reliable assessments. Now, I thought of just putting some examples and scenarios of some questions and some assessment questions that you might have used. Like, for example, this is a mathematics question. A rectangular piece of architectural land is to be enclosed by fence, blah, 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 until the end where the word land is. After grading, many students failed to write the correct equation and couldn't find the maximum area. the teacher concludes, students don't understand optimization. It might be not. No. Maybe did you see how long is this question? It's a whole paragraph. Congratulations, you've measured English language. This is not the case. Now, you cannot say that students don't understand optimization if you don't ask yourself, did I ever allow them to practice reading that lengthy question? If yes, now this is, I understand that in some programs, teachers are asked to teach lengthy word problems, but if this is not the case, is this a question and the results? Can you conclude that students don't understand the optimization? No, this is not the appropriate judgment on that, on the students not answering this result. You need we need to diagnose the cause. If we diagnose the cause, we can adjust the assessment rather than just assume that there is weak learning in that matter. Another example and another scenario that can be in any subject, like students are assigned a research or creative project, for example, sustainability in design, historical poster, or interdisciplinary inquiry. The rubrics, in short, in brief, are research quality, accuracy of information, and depth of analysis. During grading, one teacher says, I couldn't give her less than an A. Her project was so beautiful and colorful. Are we affected by the presentation of our students' work? If we want to value presentation, then you are welcome. Add it to the rubrics. Make presentation something that you are telling your students, I'm going to assess for. Teach students what good presentation means, then mark their paper based on presentation and based on beautiful or organized. And don't say, I cannot give her less than whatever, B, C, 20 out of 30 because they put effort in it. This is not how we assess. This is not how we make judgment. Another teacher commented, I marked lower because the content was shallow despite the visuals. Maybe this teacher is the correct one. She's not the bad person here. And maybe that teacher is looking at the three rubrics and they are coming up with the better judgment about that paper. English language. Students write a person and respond essay to a poem, and the rubrics, the titles of the three rubrics, by the way, rubrics need to be, as I said, with clear instructions so that not only teachers understand it, students also understand it. So if we say ideas, 10 marks, organization, 10 marks, language, 10 marks. When teachers cross-mark samples and do moderation, one gives 27 and the other gives 18 for the same essay. Here, this is if the two teachers give totally different grades and that far away from each other on the same essay, the essay isn't unreliable. We need to look back at the assessment, check its rubrics. Are we being following that rubrics? Do we justify why is this mark given, or why isn't that, why we give this judgment, and how do we support our final judgment? And by the way, this is just also, it just popped to my head that our students in this century are not, I don't want to say fool, they argue their achievement. They say, why did I get this grade? These are the rubrics and I followed the rubrics. They will come and question you. The more they are being knowledgeable in this matter, especially if they deep dig into what you design for them. Now, This is my favorite part. Actually, I thought, I would like to talk about authentic assessment, even if in very short matter, because authentic assessment is education, is something that is related to real life. It's what makes our assessment purposeful. It's what make our assessment remember long time after they finish school. It is the thing that students will say, yeah, we took this assessment project, or we took this assessment when we designed this, or when we applied this to real life. What is authentic assessment? It's a real world or realistic task. Students apply knowledge to meaningful problems. It is performance-based, integrative, and criteria reference. See, a key word also is the criteria. It has clear, shared rubrics before task begins, and it involves reflection, feedback, and real audiences, and also aligns with the learning outcomes and supports fairness. It's not out of the blue, it supports what you want. And here, you know what you need. I know that this is a challenging work to do, but sometimes you need to tell yourself, I need to read more about the application on real life. You need to ask yourself, why am I teaching this? Sometimes you'll answer, it's in the syllabus. Okay, it's in the syllabus. How can I make it meaningful to my students? How do I show them that it matters to know how to do that? How will I answer that student who keeps picking on the lesson and saying, when will I ever use that? So we need to educate ourselves, read more about the application of the subject that we are teaching, because and you will find a lot of ideas in books, in online resources, in AI might help you. And believe me, authentic assessment doesn't mean only creative just for the sake of creativity. Don't just do it because you are applying it something not purposeful. It must be purposeful, performance-based, and aligned with your learning outcomes, and supported by rubrics. So authentic tasks boost motivation, and they connect learning to real life. So how can we, now you have the 3 pillars that I talked about, validity. How can we design? Maybe authentic assessment will help you ensure validity and reliability, but please keep these 3 pillars in mind when you want to design your assessment. So I want you to have this takeaway, and I want you to reflect and to rethink your assessment. Don't think that these are simple matters. No, they are not. They affect students' results. They affect how they feel about school. And keep it in mind that well-constructed tests motivate students and reinforce learning. Well-constructed tests enable teachers to assess the student mastery of course objectives. Tests also provide feedback on teaching, often showing what was not communicated clearly. Assessment, guys, is our mirror. If you don't like what you see, if the production is not something that you appreciate, maybe you need to change the lighting, change what you're looking at, but don't stay still and say, this is it. Don't punish your students because of a poor assessment practice. Assessment is not simply just a test, compiled questions on top of each other. It's not just something at the end of the unit simply done in 30 minutes or 20 minutes, or ChatGPT would do it and I'll just stay watching. It is a decision it is a decision about what learning we value. I hope that you benefited from my session. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having you. I really appreciate you being here at this time in our weekend. And now I am open to questions.
Thank you very much, Sireen. I think I learned so much today. Getting my head wrapped around this information, a lot of things I am now reflecting on in my own practice. This is fantastic. And really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Wealth of information. If anyone would like to unmute at this point and ask a question, please feel free to do so. We're also hovering over our chat box to see if you have any questions in the chat box. We would love to take it forward. Please give us a feedback as well for today's session. Sireen would, I'm sure, love to know how you had found the session so far. I'm going to share a QR code on the chat box as well for all of you. While you're thinking about your questions or maybe just chatting it in, please feel free to use the chat box to give us a feedback. It's going to take you to a forms, and that's where you can enter the feedback in.
Yeah, thank you a lot, Ms. Serene. I think I'm doing those things, but yeah, like highlight them. Yeah, highlight exactly 1, 2, 3 structure that we have to look at. Any experienced teacher,
Actually,
yeah,
sorry, Ms.
mhm,
Khulud, to interrupt you.
that's okay.
Actually, it's really brilliant when you read in the literature in education. You'll find many of the things that you're doing have actually well thought paths, and they will tell you that for the practices that you are doing well, you'll be celebrating, and for the practices that you never thought of, there is a lot of reading in literature in education, a huge amount of resources that I really encourage all teachers to read about.
We
I
really
just had a
thank you.
question just to reflect with you. You said that we shouldn't do subjective judgment when it comes to assessments, but there are situations where when you go into standardization meetings or even in the moderation meeting before assessment delivery, there are situations where perspectives collide between when you're especially curating the mark scheme, perspectives collide between colleagues with regards to what is the aim of this question being asked from the students. So how do you make a balance when it comes to that scenario where you can't do subjective marking, but you do have perspectives in place from educators doing same level grade marking?
Try as much as possible not to be put in this trap after the assessment is being done. And number two, now, if you come up and agree on a way that you will mark everybody the same consistent way this is fairness. If you agree that this is the judgment that we are putting here, although we didn't thought we will agree on this, it is going to be reliable. An agreement that everybody follows is a reliable conclusion. So, and maybe take this experience for the next one, because it's a cycle. We don't do excellent, valid, reliable tests from the first time. We need to keep growing and show our improvement. Actually, also in the mark scheme, if you agree on a new thing that is not clearly stated, you can add it. And we as examiners, I'm not sure if any of you is an examiner, when we
Yes.
are doing examination, the mark scheme would tell us, if you see a student writing this, then give them that, which is out of all the answer key suggested. It is a special case that we will agree on. If this is the case, if you can make fairness happen, then go ahead and do it.
I think at the end of the day, it's more towards being fair and reliable than looking at personal objectives. If we have any more questions for Sireen, we'd love to take it forward.
Um, I have one point. I think Syrian, some of the teacher or most of the teacher in DP, they usually try to put their assessment based on the past papers. It depends on which curriculum they are teaching. But this is a way to go out of all the points or the pillars that you put. But sometimes they will face something. Okay, you picked the questions from past papers, but you are taking questions related to this topic only. But when you look at the whole exam at that time, it won't be structured in the same way that you're doing. For example,
Absolutely.
the whole structure will have like percentage for the challenging question, percentage for the easy questions, percentage for the majority of the class. But when you're doing it per topic, maybe without you knowing, you will put questions that all of them are challenging, and to be most
You did
of
not
your,
divide it into
you did
different
not
level of
divide it.
difficulty, because it's not only about coverage of the content, it's also about
Yes.
coverage of the level of difficulty of that questions. And just I want to add to what you've said, Ms. Khulud, thank you for the valuable input. Now, also these past papers, students need, these are also our teaching material. We need to teach our students how to handle past papers, how we need to teach them the command terms, the expectations, because past papers only without practice will mean low validity. We need to show our students that these are the kind of questions that we might ask you.
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So even if we have already prepared question made by educators, still you have to think of your assessment.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly.
I just
I
like
love the comments. Some of them talk about yeah, an assessment being rushed in last minute, or good. This means
I'm
that
guilty
we
of
are
that.
really Lena, you are. So
I
yes,
think
yes, we are taking a lot of PD sessions and workshops about different parts of education, and this is something that we think that it goes smoothly and there is no need for us to practice. No, actually, this is very, very close to students, and it affects how they think about that subject. It affects their future. It affects their belief in you as a teacher, as a skillful teacher, to show them, can they, for example, give a judgment on their assessment and give it a grade? Have you ever asked your students to grade their paper and see what if they are the second moderators, will they come up with the same results? I think we in the era that we need to keep rethinking our assessment and involve the students as much as we can.
Thank you very much, Miss Simeon. I'd actually also like to add, I think as well from a well-being perspective, I think if assessments have the pillars that you were speaking about and assessments are valid and they're reliable, I think even the students know the expectations. So if you have low validity, then students are going to be continuously surprised. They really don't know where they stand with their teacher, with their content knowledge. And as we know, a lot of students, they suffer from anxiety. But
Yeah.
if me as a student, I know what I'm coming into, I know that my teacher is actually going to test me on what she said she's going to test me on, then that obviously lowers the anxiety, and then we actually get more valid data because we are getting what we want from the student rather than
Mm-hmm.
putting them in a scenario that is not favorable.
Absolutely.
Which comes back to what you were
Exactly.
saying about standardizing your own practices. I really like, I mean, in terms of content, I think most teachers have that down in terms of content validity. But it was really actually interesting what you said about the construct validity. So many angles that we actually need to take care of. Assessment design is actually quite delicate, but its impact is lasting,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and can
Mm-hmm.
be really meaningful for students. I also really like that you really include your students so that student voice and agency is there and it's all part of your feedback cycle and feedback loop. So thank you very much for that. I really found it interesting and so beneficial. So thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, PulseED.
Thank
Wishing
you, Ms.
you
Sirin.
great
We
success.
really enjoyed the
Thank you.
session today.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Yalla, have a great last day of the weekend. And I'll see you maybe in other webinars.
Just
thank
before
you for
everyone
everyone to
leaves,
join us.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for everyone to join us. Please do finish off using our form link. We would love to hear your feedback. And we'll be bringing in more exciting educator spotlight soon. Sister Lena, over to you.
I was just going to say the same thing. If everyone could just complete the form, the link is in the chat.
I believe our video is also going to be available for everyone in our community WhatsApp group. Inshallah.
Inshallah.